Hello everyone, welcome to a random off-the-cuff live Q&A. Just something a bit of fun I want to have tonight. I don't have time to sit and edit a video for hours on end, and I figured this would actually be probably a lot quicker and easier for me, just for a Friday night, so I can get back to spending some time with my lovely wife, of course. But I've had a lot of requests lately for, well, people just asking me a lot of questions relating to the work I've been doing. And I'm wondering if this was probably the best way just to give people an opportunity to actually ask those questions. Just so you know, I am currently sat in my car just outside my house, so I've not kicked my wife out of the living room for this one. But this does mean I'm hoping my Wi-Fi router has the ability to spread the connection far enough to my car so we don't cut out and the audio isn't absolutely awful. So please let me know if the sound quality does start to get a little bit dodgy. But from what I can see, it looks like we're doing quite well. It looks like I'm getting quite a lot of decent signal actually. So fingers crossed, this should be all good. Who have we got in the chat right now then? Let's have a look. I've got Flotsam Guru, Azea Vora, yes. So straight off the bat there, it looks like you are referencing the artist who has just released a video using AI technology. I think it's something about conformity. I can't remember the title off the top of my head. But yes, I have had about 20 people send me this video, which displays a lot of clownish features, I will admit. And it does look like, off the bat, it's what I've been kind of talking about. If I can quickly, let's see if I can bring that up quickly. So I know he's been a huge, he's kind of blown up overnight because of it. Yeah, so it's this one here, this video here everyone's talking about. And I understand it does seem to fit the bill for my work very closely. And I imagine a lot of people are thinking, well, the guy used AI and naturally the AI gave him clowns, because he's communing with demons in some way. Or demons obviously come through this type of thing. So here it's called Capital of Conformity. Sorry, that's just my dash cam turning off there. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to play it for you because obviously my internet connection is not doing that great from where I am. But as you can see, just from these brief images here coming up on the screen, it's rife with the Nephilim clowns imagery for all these people who are wearing masks in this fictional retro futuristic world he's created using AI art technology. He even refers to it as the carnival as well at some point. And it's there, it fits the bill. It does seem to be, if AI is well, basically just demonic in nature, it would make sense that obviously clowns would come through more often than not when trying to depict facial features, because it's a mirror of those entities. But at the same time, as an artist, I do understand that new tools do come along which can be used and manipulated and twisted to create whatever we want. And I do believe the guy who created this has released onto his Patreon an actual breakdown of how he created it, and there wasn't that much nefarious stuff going on. He was just using a lot of descriptive prompts to get a very specific image that he wanted, and then through a lot of tweaking and a lot of post-processing through other programs, he managed to get it to move, and it is designed by the individual himself here, as a Avora. I don't think he is some kind of insider trying to show us something, or trying to deceive us in any way. I think, to be honest, it looks like he was likely inspired by a video game called We Happy Few. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but if I get it up quickly. It kind of flopped as a game, actually, but I remember when it was first being advertised, people were going pretty crazy over it because it just like a really trippy concept. But like I said, it's not loading for me very well right now. But if I can just get some images up quickly here, you can see that it's a dystopic, retro, futuristic type world that's in decay, where everybody takes their happy pill called joy, and they all have this clown-like makeup on. and everyone is living in a fantasy land, and when they take their joy, they see the world as this wonderful, pretty, glowing, rainbow-filled place. But when the drug wears off, you realise the place they live is decaying and horrible and nasty, and it's just really hideous, and these people are living in disgusting poverty, and the illusion is maintained by making sure people take their joy. And the game is you are this character who's gone off his joy, and basically people notice and then come after you. But you can make the choice to take the pill, and when you do take the pill, the world changes and you blend in more. But I don't think it panned out very well when the game actually got released. But it does seem like he was heavily inspired by this game and then made his video, which is basically along the same lines of you have to conform and put on a fake smile like everybody else, and if you don't, then you'll be taken out and re-educated type of situation. But even then, this game alone is hinting at this idea that when people lose their minds and come under the influence of something that warps their perceptions of reality, aka, let's say, something like demonic possession, they've leaned towards big, wide grins and clownish features. So I think the symbolism is still there. Whether artists like this create it knowing full well that they're representing demonic entities, I don't know. But it's highly possible they could easily be inspired by demonic entities in ways that even they aren't aware of. And they have been influenced and manipulated to create these imagery in these games to forward the agenda from the spirit realm. Maybe not even knowing that they're actually doing it themselves. Highly possible. But I wouldn't know. But yes, I will talk about this capital of conformity in a lot more detail in the next live show on Sunday. But today I just want to answer some questions. I just want you guys to ask me anything at all, and I'll answer some questions. I'll have a nice slideshow just going in the background while I'm talking here. I think I'll just let this run. Yeah, I'll just let this run in the background while I'm talking. Some examples of the Nephilim clowns. Today's thumbnail is pretty creepy, I'll admit. I put it into Photoshop and I used generative expand to make up the rest of the image, and it came out incredibly terrifying. So I thought, you know what, I'll use it, but it even creeps me out a little bit, I'm not going to lie. So who else have we got in the chat then? We've got Fishfire2, thanks for being here. We've got Strange O'Clock Podcast, who has just got in touch with me about an hour ago, and we have arranged to do a podcast, I think, on the 24th of November, so that should be some good fun. But it's good to see you here, thanks for being here. My husband, in times of frustration with traffic, will say, this is a clown show. Absolutely, we do live in a clown world. MK Ryan, thanks for being here, it's great to see you. James Carter, hi Paul from San Diego, California. Thanks for being here, James. So Stranger Clock says it's Geraldine from I'll call you Jerry for short, but Jerry from Facebook. Do you think that's sending the clowns or some sort of incantation in a song? Now that's an interesting one. Yeah, people send me kind of music all the time relating to things like this, and I haven't really considered much of it myself, but it is one of those things now where I am wondering, was there a lot more to this going on than we originally thought? By the way, I'm in the car and it has just started to rain, so I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. But I do have a voice isolator on, so hopefully it should cut some of that background noise out. But it's possible these songs that do involve clowns now may have much more of a sinister undertone, shall I say, a subtle subliminal than we originally thought. Because obviously the music industry is a highly controlled industry, especially by the Freemasons and secret societies who use it as their tool or weapon to kind of put people under spells, and perform witchcraft spells on people using the power of sound and music. So it wouldn't surprise me now if all of these clownish hinting songs from the past, like Send in the Clowns, was some kind of Freemasonic metaphoric song for them to talk about bringing the demons, sending the legion type of thing, I don't know though. I couldn't say for certain, but it's definitely interesting to look back in these old songs and wonder. Absolutely. So good question there. Flotsam Guru says, you do know the more we talk about them, they like it. Well, yes and no. I mean, I don't think they like having their tactics exposed, to be honest. And I don't think they like me mentioning that they can be easily defeated and cast out and removed from somebody with the power of Jesus Christ and in his name. I don't think they do like that, actually. And I don't think Freemasons do enjoy their symbols being exposed, especially this one, because this one is everywhere, you know. Um, at the end of the day, this isn't talking about it to support it. That's not what I'm doing. I'm pointing out something that was hidden. That I'm writing off face this entire time. And as magician's magic goes, once you know how the trick works, you don't get fooled by it anymore. And that's kind of the method I'm going for here. So I'll disagree with you on that, Flotsam. We've got Kevin, thanks for being here. Daniel M. Bugs Bunny cartoon with the gremlin shows a picture of demon gremlin clowns causing trouble on airplanes. On the picture it says Diabolical Demons from 1941. Let me look at that then. So what am I looking for here in terms of key terms? Bugs Bunny Diabolical Demons 1941. I'll type that in. Let's see what I get. Bugs Bunny Diabolical Demons 1941. I'll put plane in there as well because you mentioned planes. Yes, it does look like there's some kind of demon on a plane. It does. It has a red nose and everything, doesn't it? A Falling Hair from 1943. This was interesting. Is it supposed to be an alien or a demon? I don't know if it says diabolical demon. I'll share the screen quickly with you guys so you can see what I'm looking at here. It's this thing. This little thing here in the Bugs Bunny cartoon. Well, they do go to Mars in the Looney Tunes universe, as we can see here on the left. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was supposed to be a Martian type alien or an alien from another planet that they're representing. But if it is literally a demon, that's an interesting one. But I think, wasn't this playing on the Twilight Zone episode where a similar thing happened? A guy saw a gremlin on a plane wing tearing out everything, you know. I'm pretty sure The Simpsons did another parody of that as well. But even then, isn't that an even older phenomena of aircraft pilots reporting that they were seeing gremlins and all sorts of things in planes back in the day? Especially when they were using strange infrared light goggles. They kept seeing all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the sky. It may all be linked back to that, but that's interesting that they leaned clownish here. And of course, there it is doing the devil horns as well, as you can see. Quite naturally, of course, it would be doing the satanic symbolism. And they lean towards clown. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that one with us. That's a nice little tidbit. I like stuff like that. That's cool. That's cool. So I'll bring the slideshow back up. And I think I'll use a different slideshow. There we go. That's creepier. Let's put that one on. Yeah. Right, so what else have we got? So, Stranger Clock, well, I'll have to check out that Bugs Bunny Gremlin pic. Well, there we go, we've seen it together. MK Ryan, rodeo clowns and bulls, Nephilim and Moloch. What's your take on the connection there? Well, MK Ryan, it's the first time I've actually contemplated it since you mentioned it earlier on today to me. And I haven't gone deep into the concept. I'm not sure. I mean, rodeo clowns are really an American phenomena. I've never seen one, and I've never been to a rodeo. They just don't happen here. So I'm not actually familiar with the process. From what I gather from my loosely based knowledge on the thing, from just hearsay, are they clowns that are used to catch the bull's attention so they can then lead it back away from the person it was chasing after originally, or to basically to direct the attention of the bull. Now, symbolically speaking, like I said, the bull god is Moloch, the child sacrifice god, where people burn their children in on the hands of a metal bull god, or inside the furnace of a metal bull god of some kind, which was pretty brutal. So again, symbolism of a bull. I mean, Zeus was often depicted as a bull as well, which is quite fascinating from Greek mythology, if you want to just quickly throw that in there. But yeah, to have the clowns or the demons wrangling the bull god, the Moloch god in some way, or directing the attention of where Moloch goes. There may be something there, just off the top of my head, but it's not something I've looked into in terms of why are clowns involved with rodeos. I don't know that history yet. I'm actually reading a book written in 1984 called Clowns, and it's this like 400-page book which has basically given out the full history of clowns from start to finish. And I'm picking bits from it now for my own book as references and quotes. So maybe I'll look into rodeo clowns and I'll come back to you on that one. But I wouldn't hazard a guess to give much more information on that one just at the moment. But it's definitely an interesting connection I'll bring up in a later video, certainly. Right, so keep going down. What have we got? Do you think the ruling class are human or human hybrids or not human at all, says Shrooming Newman 4. Well, that's a good question, isn't it? That is the question. The truth is, I don't actually know the answer to that, but I can ruminate and speculate on possible angles and ideas as to what's going on there. So what do we know? We know, biblically speaking, it is said that there are basically two races or classes of beings on the earth that will forever have a war with each other. It was said after the incident in the Garden of Eden that God will put enmity between the serpent's seed and the seed of the woman, and the seed of the woman will bruise its head, and the serpent will only bruise its heel. I think it's interesting to say that, basically, symbolically speaking, there'll forever be this war between a serpentine race of being and the human race. Because of whatever happened in the Garden of Eden. And people have speculated that Cain is an offspring of a serpent-human hybrid. And that's where he was first introduced. People have speculated that, and then that serpentine race went then down through history in the antediluvian age, and then there was the two groups, the lineage of Seth, the lineage of Cain, and it followed both meticulously all the way down to Noah. And then there was basically an incursion that happened around the 6th generation of Jared, just before, basically they mingled with the daughters of Cain. Now, if the daughters of Cain were already serpentine in nature, then the fallen angels mixing with them might make it more genetically possible that they could create more offspring, perhaps, but we don't know any of this for certain. All this is purely in the realms of speculation and interpretation. We don't know that anything I just said there is 100% fact. We cannot know that. But it's interesting the language that is used. Enmity between your seed and her seed. Something's going on there. And it implies this will be forever. Till the end, until everything's dealt with and fully sorted in Revelations and Jesus returns and the wheat and the tares are separated from one another. So even that phraseology alone, separating the wheat from the tares, what does that mean? And this is the thing, the tares look just like wheat when they grow. And I think it can only be understood at the end of the harvest, the difference, but they look identical up until that point. So this is kind of that lizard reptilian vril V thing that we see in all the mainstream media, the reptilian people living among us wearing the skin of human beings. They look human, but they're not really human type of thing. So there is that aspect. The predictive programming is always trying to tell us that there's a reptilian lizard race among us. So if you want to believe that, we could believe that. But what kind of magic are they actually trying to play on? Maybe they're trying to trick us into believing they have this all-powerful non-human race that controls everything. And maybe it's just a fear tactic. Maybe it's an illusion and smoke and mirrors. Maybe they're just incredibly human like us. Maybe if there was originally a two separate classes of individuals, the serpentine race, along with the Nephilim race that was created as well, and humans, could it be that we're so far away from the original incursion now, and this introduction of serpentine, DNA into the race, that it's diluted and all mixed together, and now every single living creature who we call human on the earth is a mix of reptilian and human, originally human now? What if all of us have it in us and we're all corrupt to some extent, perhaps? Could this be the reason why we truly need to be born again? Could this be what that actually means, to be born again in Christ, to die, for your old self to die, and to be renewed with the blood of Christ, and to be resurrected once again, as a new person with a new sensibility, a new frame of mind, and maybe there is a physical transformation that does happen. Maybe the corruption DNA leaves us when we're truly born again in Jesus. Maybe that's the case. Again, I don't know. This is all 100% pure speculation. But you look at my screen right now. Now, this is an African ancestor worship tribe. And what do? But they serpentine themselves up and give themselves psychedelic snake patterns with elongated heads with the patterned hats, and they give themselves polka dots, you know. They themselves are trying to venerate an ancient serpentine race of gods in some way, which they call their ancestors, because they were the creators of their civilization. So it's possible they even believe they are the descendants of these things, and they carry that serpentine DNA within them, maybe. You know, it's serpent cults are all over the earth. Dragon worship sects and cults were everywhere and always have been. There seems to be something to do with serpent people believing they have the divine right to rule because of their special serpent blood. All the kings and rulers apply this to themselves, just as all the kings and rulers of the antediluvian age became the Nephilim, who were a hybrid race of serpentine seraphim and possibly serpentine Cain, you know. Who knows? I've just speculated and spitballed all sorts of concepts there without getting too much into the whole measuring the sizes of people's skulls and that type of stuff, which, you know, a lot of people get into that angle of it all. And basically just looking at the pictures of all these ruling elites and classes and realizing they seem to show a lot more teeth than average humans when they smile. And they seem to have very high foreheads that slope back more so than other humans. And they just seem to have bizarre features that, at a glance, look human enough. But on closer inspection, there's something weird about them. Something uncanny. Something just off, you know, and I get that. But again, I think it can also be dangerous to speculate and think too deep into that concept of there's an us and a them in the human race, you know, and I don't want people going out there starting to kill other people because they think they're a serpent person. You know what I mean? It seems like an incredibly dangerous line to start crossing, which is why I think Jesus is trying to say, you know, vengeance is mine. I will come and separate the tares, you know, from the wheat. It's his job to do, not ours. All our job is to do is just spread the word, you know, essentially. and you know, thou shalt not kill, basically. For this reason, because we can't truly know who is and who isn't. They look just like us, and even many of them probably act and think and are just like us. They're humans just like us in a sense, because it's so diluted and watered down and hard to tell now. Maybe it is true that, you know, all flesh, once again, as it was in the days of Noah, is corrupted again. Maybe that's the case, because it says, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Well, all flesh was corrupted. There were no true 100% as it was when Adam was created humans left. If it was the days of Noah, then that may be the case again, and maybe we're in that time, and maybe all of us are just a little bit corrupt. Especially if this is, you know, the little season. You know, maybe Satan's worked his corruption, you know, and he's truly introduced his seed and the serpentine stuff back into everything again. Maybe it might explain why this world is so sinful and just rife with evil, you know. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but that's a hard question to answer. Do I think the ruling class are human or human hybrids or not human at all? I think it's possible, but is it really worth wasting your life trying to answer that question when there's better things you could be doing with your own life, I guess, you know? Because again, if that's the case, and okay, they are reptilian people, what are you going to do about it? What's your logical conclusion? Because I don't want people killing other people. You know, I don't think we need to pursue it to those type of conclusions. I think it's very dangerous. It's a dangerous line of thought. Personally, that's a personal take on the matter. You know, this is so thinketh Paul, not so saith the Lord. I don't know, but interesting question. I hope that gives people food for thought on the matter. You know, I've just again thrown out a few quick thoughts and random ideas about that concept, but again, I don't have a definitive answer for that. I do think the ruling class certainly believe they do have something special about them that makes them different from other people. You know, they do believe that themselves. Whether it's true or not is another matter. I've learned so much it has strengthened my faith, says Andrew Lineberg. Oh, well, wonderful, Andrew. I'm glad you've gleaned something of use and from my work. It's always nice to hear that my work is helping strengthen other people's faith. That makes me know that what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about clowns. You know what I mean? I do wonder sometimes, like, oh, what am I doing? And I keep getting reminded from people telling me that what I'm doing is helping people come to Jesus and strengthen their faith. So I think it's right. I think it's going the right way. If it's bringing people closer to God, then it must be something right. Okay, so I'm going off of that right now. And like I said, I do feel like I've kind of been given this task to say this stuff. I'm not trying to get too mystical and weird about it when I say that. It just feels strange because again, I don't feel like I was the guy when I grew up that was going to be talking about clowns. I really, it's kind of like I've been given the task because I don't care about clowns. I've heard sayings before in the past about the best leaders are those who don't want to be a leader. I feel like that's what's happened here in some direct way. Through divine intervention of God Himself, maybe, I don't know, but it's don't get me wrong, I love I love sharing the information. It's interesting and fascinating, sure. And like I said, I'm glad people are getting something good from this. I'm really happy for that. Looking forward to our show on the November the 24th, says Stranger Clock. So am I. Intuit Observer, thanks for being here. Can you hear the rain? Okay, well, it's absolutely lashing it down right now, so you might be able to hear it. But I'm glad it's not coming through too much. And the sound is good, says James Carter. That's brilliant too. Thanks for letting me know. Let me just load this chat up again and scroll back and see what's going on. Sorry, I need to keep reloading the chat to go back, so I want to try and get through as much as I can in the time I've got. I don't want to go for too long. Ideally, I want to keep it around 40 minutes, but I could probably push it to an hour max, but I don't want to go much longer than that. Paul, hey Paul from Portugal. Some time ago, I left in the comments a suggestion of the Kratos, the Podence, and the Lazarim. There are also a mix of these two called Mascaras Transmatanas, the Amavel, and Tau. Yes, thanks for leaving that suggestion. It may have been you that inspired me to make the video on the Kratos of Portugal. I don't know if you know this by any chance, Paolo, but I have already made the video on that subject. It's one of the episodes of My Nephilim Look Like Clowns. I am trying to bring it up now to show you. Right, there it is. There it is. He says, I've just lost it. Just turn that back. Yes, so I have done the video on the Kratos. And you might see a lot of those Kratos images coming up on the screen now. But if you're not sure about it, here is the Nephilim Look Like Clowns episode 35 about the Kratos, the Vegigantes, and the Bati Bowlers. So I have covered them, and there's the logo, there's the image. So if you haven't seen it already, go and check out episode 35 of my Nephilim Look Like Clowns series, and you will see that I have covered the Kratos of Portugal, a very old tradition, which has its, I think it's, is it Celtic? I can't remember off the top of my head now. I go into deep here off it, but it's a very old tradition. Very old. It goes way back to when Europe was a homogeneous block, and it seems to have survived up into the modern day. Very interesting. And the Lazaremes are interesting too. I do mention them in this. They wear wooden masks with horns rather than this red weird mask here. But yes, definitely fascinating. Thanks for sharing that one. And if you haven't already, Paolo, go check out that video. I have covered them in depth and at length. So there we go. Let me just change up these images. What else have we got? Let's get this one up. Look at a bit of fashion for you there, a bit of high fashion. So Daniel M says GTA 5 game has a mission on it where he sells acid, gets intoxicated by it, and hallucinates, and then shows clowns attacking him, acting crazy. Yes, I remember that. That's Trevor's trip. I believe other ones have aliens come after them when they trip or something like that. But yeah, Trevor seems to the most highly Joker-like, demonic, evil, sadistic character has clowns come after him when he goes to the DMT acid realm, which is quite interesting. But certainly, I remember that. They are defeated. Amen. Hallelujah. That's correct. This is a defeated enemy. No fear. We're not called to have a spirit of fear. We have the power to defeat these guys if they come creeping and try and do their thing. We can cast them out in the name of Jesus. They're a defeated enemy. Never forget that. Flotsam Guru, you're wrong about that. Why do you think he came to you? I don't know what that means. That's extremely cryptic. Give me a bit more detail, please. Mexican luchadors masks kind of look clownish. Yes, they do. You're right. Yeah. I've not looked too much into the Mexican stuff yet. I think I have to make a separate video about it. But there's a lot of stuff going on there with the Day of the Dead and ancestor worship, and they depict them with these skulls with incredibly psychedelic patterns and colours, don't they? So there's definitely something there which I'll have to discuss at great length at a later date. But for now, I'm ignorant. I don't know everything about every culture all over the earth. I'm learning as I go here and making connections. But I'll look into that one now you've mentioned it. Thank you. They do indeed play multiple roles. That's what Freemason is basically all about. Yes, they're kind of like an actors guild, realistically. They don't build many buildings anymore anyway. Please do more Mandela Effect videos with Jesse Spots. This is related to this beyond a reason of a doubt. Interesting, yeah. Well, I've been in communication with Jesse Spots, and we're trying to reconnect. Don't forget, I disappeared for 5 years. He got kicked off of YouTube, and he's been doing his own thing. And since I've been back, I do talk to him on Twitter. Where we're trying to arrange a time to talk. But it's tough with life, busy schedules, different time zones. But I am working on talking with Jesse Spots to get into all sorts of stuff, anything and everything, So maybe the Mandela effect can come back up again. But we did used to talk about that a lot back in the day. In fact, my main Mandela effect video where we went into everything, I had a new ager on at the time called Subtle Infinity to give me a different angle and perspective to it. And I had loads of images and videos in the background kind of describing everything. It got removed forcibly by YouTube. They said it's not suitable to be on YouTube and just got rid of it. And they didn't give me a strike or anything. They just got rid of it. So that's gone, and it seems like you can't really talk about the Mandela effect much anymore. Maybe it comes under the category or bracket of severe disinformation or something, and they just don't allow that anymore. I don't know, but I would like to talk to Jesse Spots anyway, and maybe we'll bring up the Mandela effect, certainly. I will probably have to do a Remember episode on the Mandela effect, because it's been a while since it started. What Mandela effect crept up, in like 2015? Was it that, or was it 2014? Was it even earlier, I can't remember really now, it's such a while ago, but yeah, we'll talk about the Mandela effect again. It was big for like a good 3 solid years in the tens. I remember that. And maybe I should do a nostalgic remember video about the Mandela effect so we can open that can of worms back up, because that one's a crazy one. And that one's really messed with the collective psyche of a lot of truthers, I'll say it that much. What else have I got here? Cavern of Dreams is a platform game to be released roughly under Halloween. The playable character is a little dragon with jester horns. Oh, well, that's typical, isn't it? Let's have a look. Cavern of Dreams. I'll quickly see that now on the screen. Let's have a look. Cavern of Dreams. Sorry for the click-clacking if you can hear that. Cavern of Dreams. Yeah, I see that. It's a cute little dragon with horns that look very gesterish. Yeah, that is a strange one. A little wizard in the corner, typical. Not my style of game from the looks of it. Looks like it's going for a PS2, PS1-esque effect with its graphics or something like that. Unless there's going to be a remake of this coming out soon. But, yeah, interesting. I mean, the video game industry is rife with occultism and satanic imagery. It is. There's one coming out very soon on Steam, I think. I can't remember the name of it now. Is it Nightingale or something like that? Oh, I can't remember. But it's set in a realm where you go through fairy portals to different realms, and your guide is basically Baphomet in a nice fancy suit. It's like, okay, wonderful. So Baphomet's the good guy now, is he? He's the guiding spirit. Wonderful. Flotsam Guru, you'll see. Nothing new under the sun. Light. Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'll see whatever that means. The low-level Freemasons have been pumped and dumped now, jabbed and prepped to reap what they have sown, unless they repent. Interesting. Yeah, it is a pyramid system. At the end, it's a scheme. Those on the bottom don't really have a clue what those at the top are truly doing, and useful idiots is probably a good term for them, isn't it? And they're willing to reap the benefits and rewards of being a member, and they don't really question what they're asked to do. As long as they get to maintain their status and remain sold out and get money and power, they don't care. But like I said, they'll get thrown to the wayside when it all comes to full fruition. When the agenda reaches its apex, they'll have no need for those idiots anymore. That's true. Do you believe leprechauns are halfling sort of offshoot of Nephilim, the red hair, fairy-like little tricksters associated with rainbows, gold, and mischief? Yes, essentially, they're actually an offshoot of an Irish mythology and a pantheon of gods called the Tuatha De Danann. And it's basically the Tuatha De Danann were a race of fair-skinned, red and golden-haired, glowing fallen angels, kind of, or maybe Nephilim creatures themselves in some way, some kind of weird godlike entity. I'm more inclined to believe fallen angels. And they basically dominated all of Ireland and England, the land of England. And they weren't benevolent rulers necessarily. They were just as corrupt as any other ruler, but they have their own stories and myths about relationships and love and falling out and war and betrayal and all sorts of things, like all the pantheons do. But eventually they were defeated themselves, and I do believe they got kind of relegated or turned into the fairy folk. They ended up retreating to the fairy folk land and became the fairies and elves and leprechauns and things like that, which is an interesting story. I probably bastardized it a lot there. It's hard to sum up an entire mythology in a 30-second soundbite. But I do, from what I understand, the fairy folk phenomena, specifically of the Irish leprechaun, has its roots in the Tuatha De Danann mythology, and it's said that they are the remnants of the Tuatha De Danann in a lesser form than what they originally were. But I also think, in a wider, broad, worldwide scale, there was a period of time, as it says in the book of Jasher and in the book of Enoch, that after the Nephilim wiped each other out, there was about 120-year period just before the flood came, where humanity started mixing kinds together and mixing themselves with animals, and mixing animals together as well, and creating all sorts of crazy hybrid creatures, humanoid hybrids, animal hybrids, chimera creatures, along with the help of fallen angels that were still around. The ones that didn't mate with human women and create Nephilim, they didn't get put in chains, but there was still a rebellion going on, so they were still knocking about, and they were teaching humanity how to corrupt themselves rather than actively corrupting humanity themselves with their own semen. It's, instead of raping the women because they didn't want to suffer the same consequences the other Watchers did, they just taught man how to mix DNA together, And it seems like a lot of weird little creatures got created during that time too, and that would include, fairy folk, half human, half insect creatures, which is what a fairy is essentially, you know what I mean? A butterfly-winged humanoid is a human that's mixed themselves with a caterpillar insect, of some kind. And it wouldn't surprise me if that would come with, if you genetically engineer one of them and birth one of them, rather than mixing a human who's already alive with one, but you grow a fairy person, which is a mix of DNA, then they would be created tiny with wings and weird little insect features, I think all sorts of stuff like that was going on during that little time period, in a new attempt to continue to corrupt the image of God, to continue to destroy God's creation, which is what the war and the rebellion was all about. And then God saw everything is corrupt. All flesh has become corrupt. And it pains that he created mankind because they've turned against him and are now just forsaking their own image, which is his image, and just turning themselves into monsters. So he reset the system. He fully reset the system and sent a flood. But it's possible that remnants of those creatures did survive. Or if they didn't survive physically, their spirits remained on Earth. And perhaps they still live in weird pocket dimensions, metaphorically speaking, at the end of the rainbow, through the fractal prism of light where our perceptions lie. If you can see beyond the perception of the physical rainbow, the seven colours that our eyes can perceive, and go to the spirit realm, you'll find that their spirits are still there, Because to corrupt the flesh is no simple thing. It doesn't mean your spirit doesn't get corrupted along with it. And if you make your body incompatible with God's design, I think you also corrupt your spirit and your soul in the process. And therefore you can no longer leave the earth when you die. And you live forever, because we are immortal souls. We live forever trapped in the earth if we make that choice to corrupt ourselves like that. So not only is the spirit realm full of Nephilim, demonic Nephilim entities, it's also full of these humans who corrupted themselves that became lesser Nephilim in a sense, and these creepy creatures, the fairy folk, are there too. And, you have things like fairy dolmens, which are supposed to be portals to the fairy realm, scattered all over Europe, and maybe these were just places where people tripped really hard in order to get access to the spirit realm to communicate with them again. I don't know, but yeah. To answer your question, things like leprechauns are heavily linked to the Nephilim, the corruption of the flesh. They're one and the same. Absolutely. What else have we got? I'm pushing my time limit here, guys. I can't go much longer, so maybe I'll just look for the best questions now. Even the fact that cartoon characters are humanized versions of animals that walk and talk like humans, featured with bright colours, common scenes of cross-dressing. Yeah, okay. That's right. The anthropomorphization, is that the word? The anthropomorphic nature of animals in cartoonish media certainly hints of the idea of human-animal hybrids quite often when you consider it. I guess that's true. Do you have any ideas where the Spanish tradition of bullfighting originated? No, I do not. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't have any deep-rooted understandings of that particular culture. But I do have a surface-level understanding of the folk traditions, but I don't know about the bullfighting. I think the ruling class aren't fully human like us, says Shrooming Newman. Fair enough. See if I can come closer to what was said here. Cartoons also are heavily violent without realistic repercussions of their acts. Scenes of fatal incidents, setting on fire, being ran over, falling from great heights, only to be portrayed as being okay. It's funny you should say that, Trevor, because I have literally just wrote a paragraph in my book discussing the pantomime harlequinades of Britain during the Victorian era. And they are basically a comedy show, a chase scene that happens at the end of a pantomime. So pantomimes were like serious plays of dramas and romance. But then the last hour, everything would change and it would become this wacky cartoonish world. Usually a fairy godmother would come out and transform the actors into these crazy characters like the Harlequin and the Clown and Pantaloon and stuff like that, and Columbine. And then for the last hour of this 4-hour-long pantomime, they would do the Harlequinade, and it would be an epic chase scene where the clown would be chasing after Harlequin along with his master Pantaloon, because Harlequin ran away with Pantaloon's daughter, who he'd fallen in love with. And the comedy would come from chasing after Harlequin. And these people would do crazy things to each other, contort their bodies, jump through windows, constantly leaping in and out of trapdoors and being replaced by another actor, so it seemed like they did some magic trick and appeared at the other side. They would chop each other's heads off with swords, and then the next scene, they're back to normal again. They would flatten themselves like pancakes. They would beat each other, hit each other with hot pokers and slapsticks. It was violent comedy, really violent and vicious. And the book I'm reading, which was explaining this, says it's like Roadrunner. It says the only comparable thing you could compare it to was something like Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner in Looney Tunes, where they would use an array of Acme-designed weapons that would backfire and cause vicious bodily harm, but then they would just be fine in the next scene. That's exactly how the original Harlequinades would be. These extremely violent, cartoon-like, grotesque comedies, just like cartoons like Looney Tunes and Roadrunner. These violent things would happen to the characters, but then they'd just be fine in the next scene. And it's interesting you just mentioned that now. The synchronicity is unbelievable. You've literally just said what I've just wrote about 3 hours ago for my book. And obviously it's through the Harlequinade that the popular white-faced image of a clown became a thing, so it's all linked to that. It's quite interesting. Anyway, moving on. Do you really think the Messiah says, "Depart from me, I never knew you"? I think, yeah, well, yeah, he says that he would say that, but to exactly, I don't know. I don't know specifically who that's going to be. I hope it's not me. That's all I'll say, but I don't. It's a tough one, isn't it? I don't know how to answer that exactly. Who he's talking about there, but there's certainly a group of people who claim to be Christians who will say to him, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not do good works for you in your name? And he will say to them, I don't know who you are. I don't think you were doing things in my name. So yeah, it's sad that that's going to happen, but it certainly seems like it's going to happen. Certainly. What is your honest take on DMT after all? I feel like we shouldn't take the entrance to this realm artificially through psychedelics, but rather controlled through lucid dreaming or even meditation. Even meditation I would rule out, to be honest, because all you're doing through meditation is attempting to release DMT to get to that other realm. It's no different. Look, the DMT realm, the spirit realm isn't an evil thing in and of itself. It isn't, okay? It's a perfectly natural part of this world that we exist in. It is this world. It's the same world. Just because you go to the DMT realm on DMT doesn't mean you've left this world. Your perceptions have just opened up where you can now perceive this thing that's always been there and is a part of this thing that you already exist in, embodied. You are in a body, I believe our perceptions were limited after the flood, so we could no longer perceive that realm, that magical spiritual realm, for our own safety, because now it's full of the spirits of these creatures I mentioned earlier. And it's a war zone now. It's not safe to be there, and those things on the other side will lie to you and try their best to corrupt you and influence you if you give them a chance, So I would recommend not going there, and I would also say, what are you looking for if you are trying to perceive this realm? Because all you're looking at is the pipe work that makes things work. What are you, some kind of universe engineer? Do you think you know what you're going to do when you get there? What are you trying to glean from the spirit realm exactly that makes you want it to be so good and innocent, It's nothing special. It can't teach you anything in and of itself. And the spirits on the other side aren't there to teach you anything of use. They're there to lie to you and corrupt you and lead you astray. That's their job in the war, If you want true connection and spirituality, you need to go beyond this world, and that includes this realm you go on DMT, which is still of this world. You need to get to heaven, where God is. You need to find a way to talk with God, and you can do that through Jesus Christ. That's what he's there for. He's an intermediary for us. He's there to get us to be able to commune with our Creator, who's in a place that far exceeds this place people go on DMT. A place truly other. A place that Enoch was given a tour of. A true spiritual realm where angels reside. Not these fallen creatures that are just disembodied, stuck here on Earth. That's all DMT is. That's all you're doing. That's the place you're going. And, the shamans go there on ayahuasca to communicate with their ancestor spirits, the Nephilim, the demons. And when you take DMT here, all you're doing is doing the same thing. You're going there and you'll get demons. That's all you'll get. Okay, because that's all that's there in that other realm. which is this earth, and you get to live this life on this side of the veil. You get to have a body and experience things, pleasures with your senses. You get to taste, see, smell, touch, and hear things that they just can't experience. You get to live a life. You get to have a partner. You get to have children. You get to have joy and happiness and sadness and tears and trials and learn and grow. You get to have all these wonderful things. You get to have a life. Why do you want to go to this other realm? Everything you have is already here. Everything you need is right here, right now. You just need to seize it. You need to take it. You need to realize that it's already there. And don't let charlatans out there try and convince you that, try to sell you your own watch, basically. Pickpocket your watch and try and sell it back to you. That's what these DMT promoters out there are truly doing. They're trying to tell you can find something like enlightenment by doing these drugs, when the truth is you're already there. You're already in that place you need to be, where everything is possible. Anyway, I ranted a bit there, but you get the gist of what I'm saying, right? So that's my opinion on DMT. There you go. And that's coming from somebody who's done it. I'm not just some ignorant, stupid, backwards Christian who doesn't know anything, So, okay, guys, I think I'm coming to the end of this quick little talk. We're almost on the hour point now. Nathan Berber, final question. What do you think about Gnosticism and the demiurge? That is a whole other hour in itself to answer that question. And I have been debating whether or not to do a full show just breaking down Gnosticism at its core. And if I was just to summarize now, quickly, it's all a load of bollocks. That's it, basically. And I will flesh that concept out in another long half an hour to an hour long talk in another video. But that's my opinion on it, quickly summarized. Don't let people out there try and convince you that God is evil, because it's not the case, and Lucifer is not the light bringer who's going to free us from this evil flesh prison world that the demiurge has created to reincarnate our souls so his archons can feed off our energy. Blah, 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 blah. The Gnostics are the worst. The Gnostics are like communists. You try and break down their belief and say why it's wrong and how it's stupid and it just kills people and it's ridiculous. And you know what they say to you? Well, that's not real Gnosticism. Just like the communists, They're the same people under the same delusions, you know what I mean? But that's not real Gnosticism. My version of Gnosticism, my version of Gnosis and alchemical thinking is enlightened and the true way it's supposed to be practiced, and whatever. It's a prideful religion to make you feel like you're smart and better than everybody else. And there's nothing humble about being a Gnostic in the slightest, honestly. They are the worst. They are, honestly, that's my honest opinion on Gnostics. They are the worst. And they need to wake up. They need to snap out of it. I know that they want to think they can work their way through knowledge into enlightenment of some kind, and to being their own gods. And it's just the very first lie we were told in the Garden of Eden. Your eyes will be opened and you will be as gods. Just eat from that tree of knowledge of good and evil, of duality, It's pure Gnostic thinking. It's nonsense. It's the first lie. Okay, so again, I'll flesh that out in a longer video maybe one day. Okay, guys, some argument happening there. I don't know about Jesus' name. Let's not get into that. Okay, let's not get into the weeds about stuff like this. Most of us are saying, yeah, Jesus' name. Right, guys. We're getting down to the bottom here. Enlightenment is the measurement problem. All rubbish. Yeah, okay. Right, guys, I'm going to call this show an end there. I've come to an hour, I think. I don't think I could expound much more on what I just said there. I hope you like this little Q&A, just a bit of a fun one there. I'll be back on Sunday with the live show as usual. I'll be releasing another episode of Tips for Truthers tomorrow on the Patreon. That will be available in 3 months' time on my YouTube channel. So for early access, you can pay £5 a month and get access to a backlog of 3 months' worth of videos there if you're interested in getting a bit more than what's on the channel currently. $5 a month is all it takes, and there's loads of extra stuff on there, including book snippets, so consider becoming a patron. Thank you to all the new patrons that have joined this month so far. It's been wonderful. I'm so happy for the support. You have no idea how much it means to me. You have no this is my living. This is what I'm doing, next to my business as a photographer, which is brand new and growing. Your support on there is literally putting food on the table for me and my family. So I can't thank you enough for doing that for me. It's unbelievable. And the recent support on the book as well for the GoFundMe has just been amazing. I have 24 pre-orders so far. And you'll all be getting a signed copy of the book once it's published by myself. So yeah, go check out the GoFundMe if you're interested in that as well. But the support I've got recently over the past month has just been incredible. Honestly, I can't thank you enough. So thank you so much for that, guys. But other than that, I'm going to leave it now. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.